Hey, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. Andy here from Drive Steady, and in this video I'm reviewing the Mercedes Benz AMG G63. So listen up, the G63 is one of the most popular cars out there, but now given the new car market and how scarce they are, the G63 has become an even hotter commodity, with certain dealerships charging as much as 2 times its sticker price. But putting that aside for a moment, I've been wanting to drive one of these things for the longest time. So let's see what it's all about in this review of the Mercedes Benz AMG G63. Put in Sport Plus. I'm just gonna hammer it. Woo! The hood just jumps up. Oh wow! Alright, so let's start the review off by talking about the exterior design. And Mercedes gave the G-Class a refresh recently, but when you look at it, it still looks like a G-Class. And in my opinion, that is perfect. That's the way it's supposed to be. Because you see, the G-Class with its military-inspired boxy design delivers on an experience that no other car can. There's nothing else out there that looks like a G-Class and can also offer the luxury and prestige of a Mercedes Benz. Alright, so speaking of the design, let's get into a little bit more detail, starting off with this color. This is a G manufacturer color. It's called Arabian Grey. It's very unique from what I understand, and it looks really nice on this G-Class. I mean, look at the face on this thing, the aggression with this color. It has an immediate presence. It looks really nice. It's worth the money that you're going to pay for it. Now, this couple details, the turn signals here, and then the new revised headlights, all LEDs up here. And this turn signal looks really cool when you're looking at it from on top when you're driving. Really nice. And then you see down here, this is the bar or the brush guard that comes standard on all G63s. You see that this and the Pan America grille here are painted in black, and that's because of the night package, which in my opinion is a must on all G63s or all G-Classes, because if you don't get it in black, it looks kind of funny because it comes in chrome. Not funny, but it doesn't look right on certain colors. And if you were to get a darker color like this, you got to get this night package. In my opinion, it makes it stand out so much more. Alright, so now let's talk about one of the more unique features that you will find in auto manufacturing, period. And those are the bank vault style doors of a Mercedes G-Class. Now, those are maintained here in this new version of the G-Class, and there's 2 things about them that make them unique and 2 things about them that are somewhat of an inconvenience, so let me explain. Number 1, the sound they make when you open and close the door. Take a listen. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the most satisfying sounds, period, in the car industry. Now, I don't know if it's coming through in the video, but when you hear it in person, it's the most unique thing you will hear from a door sound, period. Now, the second thing, the way the doors lock and unlock, or the locking mechanism in the G-Class. Take a listen to it. Now, this sounds like something from like 30 or 40 years ago, or something where you're closing the bank vault and you're spinning the dial and the thing locks. That is what this thing sounds like when you're locking and unlocking the doors. I know people that just want a G-Class for this feature alone. Now, Some of the downsides with this thing. Because Mercedes wanted to maintain this bank vault style feature, you cannot have keyless entry in the G-Class. There's keyless start, you hop in and there's a push button, but in order to get in and out of the car, you have to take the key out of your pocket, push the unlock button, use the door handle and hop in. Such a shame, right? In my opinion, it's well worth the inconvenience of doing that. Second thing, when you've got the door open and you want to close it shut, it's not a light door by any means. And when you close it shut, you can't just give it a week because it's not going to close shut. So when you're closing the door, you really got to give it some effort, a little bit above average than you would on any other car. But the reward is you get that really satisfying sound of that bank vault style closing door. But bank vault style doors aside, what do you think of when you think of a Mercedes G-Class? The boxy style design, the military inspired, the wide fender flares, which are sporting these optional 22-inch AMG monoblock wheels, really nice looking against this paint. And of course, the hallmark side pipe exhaust. You've got two on each side. The only other side pipe exhaust car that comes to mind that's of course a sports car is the Dodge Viper. And this is a hallmark of the G-Class. Enough talking about it, let's take a listen to what they sound like. All right, so what did you think of the G63's exhaust? Sounds pretty good and definitely makes more burble sounds in Sport Plus compared to the other modes. Now, let's talk about this engine. So this is a handcrafted or hand-built Mercedes Benz AMG 4-liter twin turbocharged V8 engine, making 577 horsepower and 627 pounds-feet of torque. It's mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission. It is, of course, all-wheel drive with a 40-60 rear bias split. It has 3 individually locking differentials, which are controllable from inside the car using these 3 buttons here. But beyond that, performance is clocked in at 4.5 seconds, according to Mercedes. Now, several have clocked it in faster than that, and I can certainly tell you it feels faster than 4.5 seconds. And it's a remarkable achievement considering this car weighs 3 tons, yes, 6,000 pounds in this G63. That 4-wheel drive system is really working to get this thing going. Now, one thing that's laughable, and I know you're gonna say, who cares, is the gas mileage. Now, this thing does have cylinder deactivation, which is remarkable, and it shuts down parts of the engine when you're just cruising along and you don't need all the power. But even as a result of that, it gets terrible gas mileage. 13 in the city, 16 on the highway for a combined average of 14. Now, the other interesting point about this is that if you live in California and you wanted to fill 91 octane gas, which you should considering that this is a performance-oriented car, it will cost you upwards of $130 to $135 to fill up your gas tank because this thing has a 26.4 gallon fuel tank. But who cares? Because you drive a G63 and you can afford it. All right, so now let's talk about the trunk. And this door specifically here, this is not a lift style tailgate type of trunk, and that's because Mercedes wanted to again maintain that bank vault style door, and that translates to a door back here as opposed to a lift gate. So the way this thing opens, you do have a very similar unique door handle like you get on the doors up front. So you open it up and it still has that same sound that the doors do. And the inconvenient thing about this thing is that the door is actually a little heavy. It's a little heavier than what you would expect to be in a trunk or a trunk door, much like the doors. And it's something that is I don't know, something to point out. Now, again, because this is a door and it's because it's a heavy door, it is not electronic. Again, it's a manual door. You're gonna have to do it all by yourself. It does not have any soft closing features or none of that. Now, as far as once you're inside, the trunk is of decent size. The seats do fold in the rear, but they have a funky way of folding. They're like a two-step process. You have to lift the bottom first and then fold down the top. But nonetheless, it does give you a little bit more space. So as far as storage space goes, I would say you can fit maybe 2 or 3 larger pieces of luggage. This does have a taller roof, so if you don't mind stacking things on top of each other, you can obviously fit much more. And with the folded seats, obviously much more than that as well. So that's basically the trunk. Now let's go to the interior and I'll show you the vast improvements that Mercedes has made in there. All right, so now the interior of the Mercedes G63, and I gotta say, this is a really nice place to be. Now, this one specifically has the ultimate interior package. It's the G Manufacturer Interior Plus. It costs $8,000 for this interior alone. But I gotta tell you, everything is covered in leather. You got quilted cross stitch on the seats. You've got it on the door panels. You've even got it on the material on the trunk. So it's a really nicely put together interior as far as quality goes. Now, I also drove the Mercedes S-Class a couple months ago, and I was blown away by that interior as well. Mercedes has really upped their game as far as interior and interior design and quality goes. So now let's jump into a little bit more detail, shall we? Starting off with the seat. So this, as a part of that G Manufacturer package I was talking about, you get heated seats, cooled seats, and you get adaptive bolsters. Now, you can manually adjust them if you like, and they will automatically inflate and deflate and move for you. So if you are turning, for example, you're making a hard left turn, it will adjust in order to keep you solid in place. Now, this is something that is very sophisticated and is very, very helpful for such a big car like this that has a lot of body motions. Let's be honest, this is sitting pretty high up, and it does have motions. So now, as far as the seat comfort, it is an immensely comfortable seat. The leather is soft. The cushioning is good. I would rate this a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5 as far as comfort goes. Now, the steering wheel, this does have the optional carbon fiber Alcantara steering wheel. I love carbon fiber steering wheels. I don't like the fact that it's Alcantara. Alcantara gets beat up so fast and it looks terrible, but nonetheless, it does look nice when it's new, and matched with the carbon fiber looks very good. And now these gauges, these are 12.3-inch gauges, very crisp, very clean, very easy to read. They've got 3 modes. All of them adjust to the driving dynamics, and you can set them even independently of that to whatever your preference is. But I have to admit, the one I saw in the S-Class, the newer version of these gauges, look a little cooler and a little better, but nothing taken away from these. These are actually really good as well. And now the rest of the interior. Now, one thing that's a highlight right here in front of me in the passenger seat is this grab handle. It's got the carbon fiber piece on there, and it's really mounted on there. You try and take this thing off, your arms will probably come out before this thing comes off. But nonetheless, the infotainment system is the same style screen. It's a continuation of the gauge cluster, 12.3 inches there. It's very crisp, very clean, very easy to read. But the software isn't the latest. It is not a touch screen, which is quite surprising for this G-Class. Most of the other Mercedes cars now do have touchscreen infotainment, but you do have a trackpad style button on the steering wheel that gives you some sort of touch capability. But the rest of the interior is pretty much really high quality as well. The climate control buttons, all of the climate vents, all of that stuff is covered in a metal material, and if it's not, it's piano black or carbon fiber. And the center console does have plenty of storage space as well. Now let's go to the back seat and I'll show you what it's like back there. All right, so now the back seat, and as I'm sitting here with me sitting behind myself, I have plenty of leg room here. The headroom is also plentiful, no issues with somebody taller than I am. I'm 5'10", 5'11", so if you're 6 feet, 6'1", maybe even 6'2", you probably wouldn't even have any issues sitting back here. The seats do recline, go forward and backward. Where is it? Right here. So you do have that added convenience of sitting up as straight as you want or leaning back a little bit and getting comfortable. It is definitely a comfortable place to be. As far as how many people you can sit in here, 3 adult-sized individuals like me, you can probably get by, not for a very long period of time, because I feel like it's not wide enough, even though the G-Class in this generation has grown in size. 2 people, more than enough. 3 children, more than enough in here. And you do have your own climate control system. So this is a 3-zone climate control, 2 up front and 1 back here. The one thing I do have to ding Mercedes about is this piece is actually plastic. The rest of the interior is all leather. Everything is covered. And then this back piece here, why couldn't they just make it leather? But nonetheless, you do have a little compartment, and there is a charging outlet here, which is always a plus, and in my opinion, necessary for all new modern cars, considering everybody's connected and needs a charging port. So that's basically the interior. I do have to say it is a very, very nice place to be. It is not the biggest, because the G-Class overall is not really a big car. It's suitable for 4 people and then for 5 people, unless 3 children are in the back. But this interior quality is top notch. The infotainment is good. You really, really have to be nitpicking in order to go and find something that is not of the expectation in this price range. It's really, really nice. So now let's go to the driving portion of the review and see what it's like to drive. All right, guys, so now the driving portion of the review, and you'll notice that this car I'm driving has these seat covers, when in the one I was filming with didn't, because that one actually sold while I was filming it. And this is a completely different one. It's pretty much the same spec. It's a different color. The interior is practically the same. Of course, the engine and all that stuff, everything's the same. So it's not going to be any different. But as usual, let's get started. The key, I like the new Mercedes keys a lot. It has a nice feel to it. Very little, if any, plastic. It's a lot of gloss black and metal, and it's got a nice weight to it. As far as visibility, the G63 does have good camera technology, 360-degree view camera, and it has the front and rear parking sensors. And I don't have any issues looking over my shoulder. Out front, you have this command high driving position where you're just kind of looking over everybody. So no visibility issues. This car that I'm driving, I believe, has a sticker of, let me see, where is it? 174,000. The one I was reviewing earlier or filming with earlier was 186,000. And they're being marked up to close to $300,000. And it's hard to believe, but people are buying them. So now, foot on the brake, start, stop button. And you get that Mercedes rumble in the exhaust. Always a pleasant sound to listen to. Look at this. It's still got the seatbelt covers on there, and I don't want to take it off, and I want to be respectful because this is a dealer car, so I'm not going to be going too crazy, but we'll definitely get a feel for it. So immediately as I set off, hear the lock. Here it comes. The locking sound. It sounds really good. I like it a lot. But as I set off here, it's immediately apparent. One of the selling points of the G-Class is this high driving position, and it gives you this command over the road. And it's really cool when you can see the markers, the side markers. As far as the speed goes, now let me go ahead and put it into Sport. Actually, let's put it in Sport Plus, and let's see how the transmission reacts. I'm just gonna hammer it. Let's go, hammer. A little bit of lag. Woo! The hood just jumps up. Oh, wow. The hood really jumps up as you accelerate. The front end lifts, and you get this instant thrust. The transmission, not the best. I'm flooring it, and it's not downshifting, even though I know it's got some RPMs to work with. The transmission seems a little lazy, and I am in Sport Plus. But the speed is very good. It definitely feels that 4.4 or 4.5 seconds, actually a little bit faster. That initial thrust and the size of the car just make it seem so much faster. But the speed is definitely there. I do feel like that transmission is a little lazy when you're just hammering it. So now let's not hammer it, and let's do it from a stop. in first. There we go, much better. Ooh, yes. The brakes are adequate, okay feel. Could use a little bit more bite in the brake. I'll need a little bit more power, wouldn't hurt, but it's an adequate brake, pretty good. But the speed is really good. For a car this size, it moves really well. So now let me go ahead and put it in comfort and talk about why I think a lot of people like this car. Because not only can it do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, not only does it look absolutely menacing and has such a presence on the road, but I can put it in comfort and I can drive it like an S-Class. The suspension is very bellowy, if that's the right way to describe it. It has a lot of motion and it goes with the flow. It doesn't feel like a sports car whatsoever. I would be curious to see what the G550 feels like if this AMG's got like this smooth, comfortable, cushy suspension and it goes with the flow. It's not very stiff and the seat really cushions you from the uneven pavements and all that. You don't feel uncomfortable whatsoever. There is some suspension feel, but it's not unbearable. I'll put it to you that way. What do I think of this car? I think that this car is a great car as a luxury, prestige, somewhat of a unique car to drive, because it offers something, like I said earlier on the video, it offers styling that no other car has, and the presence of it is also unlike any other car. The performance is great for its size. The comfort is absolutely fantastic. I can certainly see myself driving this car every single day. The only things that are the downsides are the technology isn't the greatest. It doesn't have the latest MBUX. It doesn't have a touch screen. It does have some flaws, some inconveniences with the door locks not having comfort access, and then the back trunk not having comfort access. You lose some of the luxury features, but the things that you gain as far as the experience, the door locks, the bank vault style doors, and the up high feeling, and just the overall experience is worth the money that you pay. So would I buy this car? Yes, I would buy this car for $100 at sticker price. I mean, at $300,000, it depends. If you got money to throw around and you want this experience, it's a nice car. It's definitely a nice car. So that's all I've got. Like I said, I'm not going to give it a really bellowing review, driving it in the mountains or anything like that. This is a dealer car. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to send me a message on Instagram or drop me a comment down below. But thank you for watching this video. Until next time, drive steady.